I've got several lessons learned from my Utah to Colorado trip that I want to share with you. Plus, we're going to answer a lot of questions that I've been getting from you all from that entire video series. And I'm going to do a little multitasking while we're doing this. I'm going to install this secondary S-Pod unit, which is something I've been meaning to do for a while. So we got a lot to talk about today and a lot to do, but I think we got this. The recent 10-day trip that I did to Utah and Colorado with my son and some very close friends was such an amazing adventure. And there's a few things here today that I want to share with you that I didn't really mention in the video series regarding the trails and regarding camping. And the last day, I didn't film the last day, but there's a few things that I definitely want to share with you guys because it was a very eventful day. Also today here in the garage, I'm installing this secondary S-Pod system in the Jeep. You know, I've got a chase light that I'm going to be installing and I needed some extra auxiliary switches. I called the guys over at S-Pod. I said, what can we do? What's going to work? And they said, this is exactly what you need. So this should be a pretty easy install. Now this is not an install video. I'm just going to do this while we're talking about the Utah to Colorado. But let me mention that the S-Pod that I have in my Jeep right now, I've had since I got the Jeep. That was the very first mod I did on my Jeep. So this is a product that I've been using for a long time. Okay, before we get started though, very important, have you watched the Utah to Colorado Adventure Series? If you haven't, pause this video, go check it out, go make sure you hit all those videos. Otherwise, you may not understand everything we're talking about here. Go ahead, go, I'll wait. All right, everybody's all caught up? Perfect. Let's start by talking about planning a 10-day trip. You know, when you are going to go across state lines with multiple people, you need to do some good planning. And so we were actually talking about the trip 3 months in advance. And that was trying to figure out what trails we wanted to run, how long we wanted to stay in Utah, how long we wanted to stay in Colorado, where everybody was going to be staying, because not everybody camped. Some of the guys stayed in hotels. So there's, you know, food, the logistics of meeting up, gas, water, all that kind of stuff. Very important. So we really did a lot of planning in advance. But let me just say the most important thing about this entire trip and planning for it was the people we were choosing to go with. Because look, I was taking time off of work. I was using my vacation time for this trip. And the last thing you want to do is go on a long trip like that with people that, I don't know, maybe you don't know very well or whatever. So everybody that was on that trip, you know, I've been wheeling with them for a long time. And so I knew I was going to have a great time with those guys. So a lot of planning went into it, and I think that's an important element to really consider if you're going to make a trip like that. The last thing you want to do is just on a whim, just take off and go with a bunch of guys. Things may not work out so well for you. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is camping in Moab. And before I get into the details, let me just say I'm going to try harder in the future to do a better job of filming when we're in camp. Because I know during that video series, it was always a last minute thought. You know, we were getting to camp kind of late and had been pretty tired. I mean, that's an excuse, but did not film as much in camp as I would have liked to. So that's something I'm going to personally work on to share with you a little bit more in the future. But we camped 3 of 4 nights in Moab along the Colorado River. And it was a little buggy here and there, but it wasn't bad. The sites were all clean. It was quiet, but it wasn't very remote. You know, we had hoped to do some primitive camping when we were there, but it just didn't work out because a couple of the guys were staying in hotels. And because Marco and I were camping, we had to work out the logistics of where to meet in the morning. You know, when we were camping, sometimes we wouldn't even have cell phone signal. So we would kind of plan a place to meet up with those guys at a certain time. But it was a little bit difficult from time to time, especially we didn't know where we were camping because we didn't have reservations. We were just kind of trying to figure it out each night as we went along. So if I was to do it all over again, I would say, you know, if you're going to be on a trip like this, everybody either camp together or you stay at hotels together. It just makes it a little simpler. So our trip was in August and it was over 110 degrees most days in Moab. And so that made camping, I don't know, I want to say it was miserable, but it was a little uncomfortable. You know, we brought some little portable fans or whatever, but if I was going to do it again, I don't know if I would camp in August in Moab. It was pretty hot. Now, we did have quite a bit of gear with us, and this was probably the first time in a long time that I didn't forget anything. Like I wasn't wishing I had brought something. That was actually pretty cool. And right after I got back, we did a video of all the gear I took with us. And I'll leave a link down below, guys. Go check that out. I think we packed really well for that trip. But camping in Moab, if I was going to do it again, one, I wouldn't do it in August, and two, I want to go find some primitive campsites and not have to worry about time, distance, logistics, and all that kind of stuff, because I know there's some great places in Moab to camp. Before we talk about the trails in Moab, there is one other question I want to address that I got asked in just about every video, and that was, what navigation system was I using that kept popping up in the videos? And I was using the Gaia apps map, or GPS, or whatever it is. It's really cool because you can put it on your computer, you can add GPX files and trails and do a kind of stuff, and then it syncs with your iPad or your phone, the app that you use. And I don't have any affiliation with those guys. I'd just been told, hey, you need to really try this out. And I got to tell you, I was really, really happy with it. It's a very nice system. I'm currently using it now. I used it on the Arizona trip that we just did. I think I'll be using it for a long time to come. It's a great app. It's Gaia, G-A-I-A. So I know a lot of people are asking about that. Okay, the first trail we did in Moab was Top of the World. And oh, what a great trail to kick it off with. I mean, beautiful scenery all the way up, some nice obstacles, definitely a challenging trail. And I was really proud of my son because he had not done a lot of driving off-road, my oldest son, like that. And I was running the camera and he was driving, and he just did a great job. I was really proud of him. He learned a lot just on the first day on that trail because there's a lot of good obstacles in there. Some of the questions I got were, do you need lockers for that trail? And that's always an interesting question when people ask me, what's the right tire size, or what lift kit do I need, or do I need lockers to do that trail? And I think it really comes down to driver ability and overall rig ability, right? Do you need lockers on Top of the World? I don't think so. I think you could probably do it without lockers. I think there's that one section that was pretty technical that we were spinning our tires. There's a bypass for that. That's probably the only section that you need lockers. I think you could do the whole trail without it, but you need some oversized tires, and you need a little bit of clearance. I think a stock Jeep with some good tires could probably do it just fine, but Top of the World was a great trail, and it was a perfect way to kick off Moab. So after we left Top of the World, one of the guys got on the radio and said, hey, there's a great trail down here called Onion Creek. Let's hit that on the way out. And we were like, you know what? We got plenty of time. Let's go do it. And so glad we did. Onion Creek it's a super easy trail. I mean, it's just basically a dirt road. You go through a couple little low water crossings. But man, the rock formations in there were really cool. And I didn't really film a whole lot. I think I got a little bit of video of it. But if you are at Top of the World and you're heading back to Moab, take that left turn, go check out Onion Creek. That was a really cool trail. I'm glad we did it. At the very end of the trail where we decided to turn around, there was a pretty big network of other trails. So I know there's some other stuff out there that's worth exploring. I think if I go back, I'll definitely do that again. It was a fun little trail. The next morning, we went to do Hell's Revenge. And Hell's Revenge was my first introduction to, the Moab Slick Rock. And I gotta say, it definitely lived up to its reputation. That Slick Rock it's amazing. I mean, you're crawling up some really vertical, climbs. It's really amazing how well you can stick to that stuff. And Hell's Revenge was a cool trail. I liked it. Probably not my favorite trail there. It was very open. It didn't feel like we were very remote, and there were a lot of, side-by-sides out there. There were a lot of tour vehicles out there taking folks on tours. It was kind of congested a little bit, but I liked it. It was cool to just go out there and, go over some of those obstacles. It was fun. Now, I did not do Hell's Gate. I debated it a little bit. Marco and I had talked about it and made the decision just to not do it. I mean, I had so much weight with the rooftop tent and all the gear in the back. I was just a little worried about going up there and maybe getting a little too, a little too off camber and leaning back a little bit. So, maybe in the future I'll go out there without a tent and camping gear, take the roof off, and maybe we'll tackle Hell's Gate. But Hell's Revenge, it's a good trail, and it's definitely kind of the iconic trail of Moab. Probably wasn't my favorite trail. I'm sorry to say that. I know probably some folks out there might disagree with me on that one. And the next trail we did was Fins and Thing. And that one, we kind of knew we wanted to do it, but we didn't know how much time we were going to have left after running Hell's Revenge. And so I feel bad about this. I didn't film it. I mean, I think I took a little bit of video, but I didn't film it because we thought, well, we'll just go run part of it and then head out. We ended up doing the whole thing, and I gotta say, I loved Fins and Things. It was a blast. We went through it way too fast. I definitely want to go back and do that again. I will say I think I like Fins and Things better than Hell's Revenge. It was just a fun little trail. Very, very cool. The next day, we woke up and we went to do Poison Spider, which was really nice because it was just down the road from where we were camping. I mean, less than a block from where we were camping, which was really cool. And my son and I, we had a little bit of debate about what our favorite trail was. Poison Spider is up there. We loved Poison Spider. It was a great trail. I mean, there was just some awesome scenery the whole way, and the obstacles were, you know, they were really challenging. You definitely have to have good tire placement, and it's going to work your vehicle out pretty well. Poison Spider was a fun trail. I think if I go back to Moab, Poison Spider is definitely on my to do again list. It was a great trail. I loved it. Now, the last trail we did in Moab was Elephant Hill, and I loved Elephant Hill. Elephant Hill is about an hour drive out of town, and so you got to haul a little ways, and then when you get to the park, it's $30 to get in the park, and then you got to go to the ranger station, and you've got to get a permit, and there's all kinds of restrictions about, you know, how many Jeeps can go per day and in a group. It was just very interesting that there were all those restrictions. But once we got to the trailhead, oh, it was all worth it. Elephant Hill was amazing. The obstacles were definitely challenging. And coming down that first section, the hills there, I don't think I caught it on camera as well as I should have. It really was pretty sketchy on some of those points. And then there's some of the other obstacles were just, they were just a lot of fun, and there was open area. Plus there was that hiking we got to do. Now we didn't get to see everything while we were there because we had to get back. I'm definitely going to do Elephant Hill again. That trail is a must do. I loved it. It was a great trail. So I think that's about it for Moab. Let's talk about Colorado. So to Ouray, Colorado, it was about a 3-hour drive, and it's all uphill. And so my Jeep was letting me know it's still not happy with me running the stock 410 gears. And so I have realized that I need to quit putting that off. After doing that trip, it's definitely time to upgrade my gears. Now the question is, 410s, 513s, it's the debate I keep having. Every once in a while I'll tell myself, you know what, I'm gonna get the 513s, and then, you know, I'm gonna do the 488s. I still haven't made up my mind, but I need to do it soon. Okay, so we got to Colorado, and camping there was amazing. And the cool thing is Marco and I, we were able to primitive camp the entire time we were there. Now, every night we drove around for a little while finding a camp spot. We kind of had an idea where we wanted to go, but you know, because we still had to meet the guys that were staying in the hotels the next morning, we had to worry about time distance. But we found a great camp spot every night. It was so awesome. It's almost a shame that we were in such a hurry because we didn't really get to enjoy it as much as we would have liked to. And the last night we were there, we camped in Animas Forks Ghost Town, just outside of it. There's some restrictions there about where you can and can't camp, but we camped over this ghost town, overlooking it. It was the most amazing campsite I've ever been at. It was so awesome. Look, I'm going to go back to Colorado without a doubt. I'm going back to Colorado because there's a ton of trails that we'll talk about, and I want to do some of the ones we already did, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But I want to do some camping in Colorado because there's some beautiful places to camp there. So after we arrived to Ouray and got settled, we headed right for Ophir Pass. Ophir? I don't know. I think I said it wrong in the video. Anyway, we ran out there because we wanted to get at least one trail in the first day we were in Colorado. And it was beautiful. I mean, that was a great introductory trail. Easy the whole way, a little bit of a shelf road, but really just a nice trail all the way. Although, did you see when I fell at the top of that hill? Yeah, that was pretty funny. My son said I had to leave that in the video, so we did. And then we went and found a campsite that night, and the next morning we headed to Black Bear Pass. And I told you in the video, I've got a fear of heights, and Black Bear Pass lived up to its reputation. You know, it's a great drive all the way out to the switchback. You know, it's beautiful. You're going up the mountains. You got, you know, not too many obstacles. I think there was one or two little ones, but really the scenery was just amazing all the way up there. But then you get to the switchback and your heart starts pounding. At least my heart starts pounding a little bit, because knowing that you got to go down this mountain on the edge of that road the entire way, those hairpin turns and a couple obstacles, definitely gets your attention. Now, if heights don't bother you, that's no big deal for you, but it's just one of those things I just have not been able to shake. But it was beautiful, and the scenery coming down all the way was really nice. My son loved it. He doesn't have the fear of heights that I do, so he enjoyed it a little bit more than I did. But Black Bear Pass definitely lived up to his reputation. All right, I got to get this wire up in here. So when we got done on Black Bear Pass, we drove into Telluride, which is a beautiful little town. Got some pizza there, and then we headed to Imogene Pass, which I loved. Imogene. It was such a great trail. I mean, Imogene and Elephant Hill, probably my two favorite trails. I don't think I could pick one over the other just because they're a little different, whereas, you know, Elephant Hill was a lot of obstacles and beautiful scenery, and Imogene was, you know, there was a few obstacles, but there was so much to see along the way. I mean, you know, there's all these abandoned mines, and it's almost like a bunch of ruins. It was really just really cool. I mean, we could have spent a lot of time on Imogene Pass, just looking at stuff, taking pictures, but it was really nice. And then when we came over the top of the mountain, coming down, it got a little fun, and we found a great camp spot. Marco and I, we searched around a little area that we had kind of been told about, and we found that spot up, just the overlook up there. There were deer running around. It was really just the best way to end the day on the trail. And being able to camp on the trail like that was really cool. Imogene is a must-do trail if you are going to Colorado. Let's turn out okay. Okay, so the last day in Colorado, I did not film, and that was kind of intentional. I was actually planning on just spending the last day, just enjoying it with my son and enjoying the scenery. And so I actually had planned on just taking the last day off from creating any videos. Well, we were originally going to do the Alpine Loop, but a couple of the guys in the group had some commitments, and we just could not spend the entire day doing that. So we ended up running Poquettes Gulch, and that actually ended up being a really awesome adventure. So you have to take Engineer Pass to get up there a little bit, and then you head down. And as we were going down, first of all, it's a beautiful trail, some cool obstacles, some really technical obstacles if you want to take them, but Rusty's drive shaft, his front drive shaft, broke. We had to take it off on the trail, and actually ended up towing him through a lot of the sections because he was in two-wheel drive and couldn't get through. It made for a very interesting day on the trail, and didn't get back as fast as we had planned, but it was really awesome. Definitely want to go back to that trail because I want to run some of the obstacles that we didn't get to run. But that was a great way to kind of end it. So much more still left to see in Colorado, but it was a cool trail. So I'm really happy with how this dual S-Pod turned out. I think this is going to be perfect for what I need. You know, I'm going to be installing the chase light here soon, and this is going to make that thing function very well. And I'll show you all that when we do the light bar install. But thanks for bearing with me. You know, I just wanted to do this Utah, Colorado wrap-up thing, but I also wanted to get this installed at the same time. Hopefully I've answered all the questions that were out there about that trip. But if there's another question you have, throw it in the comments below, guys, and I'll do my best to answer it. And look, I want to let you guys know that there is a Trail Recon Amazon shop. Got all kinds of the mods that I'm running here on my Jeep, the gear that I take with me. They're in that shop, so you may find something there that's useful for you. And by shopping at the Trail Recon Amazon store, you're helping support this content, which I really appreciate. Look, if you're visiting Trail Recon for the first time, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a member of the Trail Recon team. Thanks for watching.